All right, welcome back to the channel. So this weekend is a great fight weekend. Jaron Boots Ennis out of Philadelphia is fighting Sergey Lipinets, and I'm telling you ahead of time, if he dominates Sergey Lipinets, he will pass Virgil Ortiz in accomplishments in the welterweight division, and I'll be very, very interested to know how they are going to skip the conversation of a fight between Jaron Ennis and Virgil Ortiz. Let's talk about that in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel. So in this video, I am going to talk about two excellent young welterweights, future middleweights, and Jaron Ennis and Virgil Ortiz. Virgil Ortiz fought maybe 2 weeks ago against Maurice Hooker in his first major step-up fight, winds up stopping Maurice Hooker. You know, had some bumps and bruises along the way, but hey, man, when you're fighting a world champion like Maurice Hooker, you're going to get punched in the face. That's, you know, pretty much how that goes, you know what I mean? So he had his face, Virgil Ortiz had his face scratched up and all of that stuff. Definitely got connected on more than a few times. And he passed the test. He, pushes the gas, beats Maurice Hooker. Now, people say, Maurice Hooker was hurt. Yeah, he got hurt all right because he's getting hit on them arms, okay? I don't want to hear it. If you get hurt in that fight, you still lose. That guy hit you, and he maybe hit you hard enough to turn your ankle. Maybe he hit you hard enough to sprain your wrist or your elbow or break your arm. Who knows? All I know is the guy won the fight. He won it impressively. I like him. After that conversation, though, people start saying, well, is Virgil Ortiz going to fight Terrence Crawford? In the traditional way that we do it in the sport of boxing as fans. We look for the next big fight. I did not look for Virgil Ortiz versus Terrence Crawford or Errol Spence Jr. as the next big fight. I think the next big fight for Virgil Ortiz, or maybe 2 fights from now, should be a fight with Jaron Ennis. Because those guys are contemporaries, they're in the same weight class, and we might as well get to it now. Because if one of them, especially if Virgil Ortiz, and I'm saying this not because of Virgil Ortiz, I'm saying it because of Oscar De La Hoya. If Virgil Ortiz gets a belt before Jaron Ennis does, then the likelihood of us getting that fight goes poof, right? Because now it's, let's build Virgil Ortiz, or if it was on the other foot, I don't think it would be. Let's build Jaron Ennis and let's get this fight as big as it can be so we can make as much money as we can. In other words, let's milk the fans for a bunch of years, right? With the hopes that these guys will fight. And if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Because guess what? We made a bunch of money selling the fight through other fights. That routine. I say no, 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 no. And the most important thing, I think, is to point out that Jaron Ennis, whose team is much more likely to make that fight, will be, in my opinion, a higher-ranked welterweight if he beats Sergey Lipinets than Virgil Ortiz is for Maurice Hooker. And I will explain why. And why it's so important for these two guys to fight and just get on to it. First of all, as far as it goes with the fight with Virgil Ortiz. When Virgil Ortiz beat Maurice Hooker, that's a very, very solid win. Like I said, no doubt about it. But Maurice Hooker is not a proven welterweight. It's not a proven welterweight. He's a 140-pounder, and I do believe he got knocked out by Jose Ramirez, the weight class below. That is not the case with Sergey Lipinets. Sergey Lipinets did have a belt at 140 pounds. He lost to Mikey Garcia. Mikey Garcia did not get knocked out, had a better fight. I think that Sergey Lipinets is a better fighter, or I think Sergey Lipinets beats Maurice Hooker. In my estimation, I think that the Sergey Lipinets fight is going to would be a tougher fight, especially for somebody like Virgil Ortiz. Because unlike Maurice Hooker is a good fighter. He's a good boxer, but he doesn't carry any power, man. He doesn't really carry any. There's no, at 147 for a guy that big, I don't think that there's a lot of risk. With Sergey Lipinets is more of a gritty fighter. He's a tougher fighter. He's somebody that is definitely going to try to grind on you, right? Guy that's going to go to the body. So even though there's not a large difference between the two competitors, I do believe that Sergey Lipinets is the tougher fight. And, you know, if I wanted to act like an Anthony Joshua fan and be biased, this one is probably a little biased because I would never say this if it was not for Jaron Ennis, because I'm a big Jaron Ennis fan. Hey, man, he's fighting for the IBO belt. According to a lot of guys over there in the UK, that makes him a world champion. This is the second time that he fought for the IBO belt. The last time he fought for the IBO belt was in his last fight against Chris Van Heerden. And Chris Van Heerden just took a knee, dog. That's all I can say about that fight. Like, he was getting beat up so bad by Jaron Ennis, that he actually was getting beat up against the ropes, leans back on the ropes, and then launches his head forward and connects with Jaron Ennis. And fortunate for him, and you can hear it in his tone after the fight, fortunate for Chris Van Heerden, it opened his whole face up. So since it opened his whole face up, and it was before the fourth round, it was an accidental headbutt. It was before the fourth round, the end of the fourth round, or whatever the time frame is. It was before that. As a result, it doesn't go to the scorecards. It goes to the no contest. So Chris Van Heerden avoids a loss. Jaron Ennis gets a no contest on his record, and the IBO belt is still up in the air. This one with Sergey Lipinets will actually be for the IBO belt, so we'll see. But speaking on both of these guys, this is a fight that really should happen, and it should happen early. Similar to what's going on over there in the 135-pound division, where you have you have four fighters, who Teofimo Lopez, I need to call him the champion because he is. He's got three of the four major belts, and he's got a piece of the belt for the WBC. So clearly, you know, he's the guy that's the top lightweight. But you see what's going on there with a bunch of younger fighters that they talk about wanting to fight each other, but it doesn't seem like their camps are really pushing heavy to make that. So it winds up being a lot of noise about the fights, but we'll see whether or not those things actually go down. And with 135, there's a chance of it because I'm going to tell you, the guy that I think showed a lot of heart is Ryan Garcia by taking this Javier Fortuna fight. That shows a lot of heart. I believe if Ryan Garcia is willing to fight Javier Fortuna, he's willing to fight Devin Haney. So, but you see, though, that there's a lot of talk about who's going to fight who and a lot of people making it more difficult for that fight to happen. So at 147, if we don't really push it, you know, start talking about, at least this is my idea. If I'm not talking about the fight or connecting Virgil Ortiz and Jaron Ennis, then I'm just kind of sitting idly by while these guys do what I think they're going to do, which is try to bypass Jaron Ennis for any major belts at 147. And the reason I believe that is because of what's going on with Terrence Crawford in Top Rank, where Bob Arum said that he could envision a time where Terrence Crawford gets the WBC franchise belt after Errol Spence moves up. You also know you've got two Top Rank guys that are, you know, in Jose Ramirez and Josh Taylor, that are going to move up to that weight, and Teofimo Lopez is going to move up in that weight. Who's going to be fighting for all these belts? Jaron Ennis isn't. Not if Bob Arum gets his hands on it. So anyway, you get my drift. You let me know what you think in the comment section, and with that, I'm out. Peace.